Welcome back, everybody, to the Tennessee Titans franchise here on Madden 23. We've got only 2 weeks left to go here in season number 2, and although our Titans have clinched a playoff spot along with the division title, we've still got some work to do in terms of seeding. And we've got a pretty tough matchup today against another playoff hopeful team and the New Orleans Saints, who are coming to town here in Nashville. In the last episode, our 6-game winning streak was snapped on Sunday Night Football by the Carolina Panthers in the most unlikely way possible. Randy Bullock went 0 for 2 on extra points, and it wasn't that he missed those kicks, it's that he missed them bad. And with the rain, that meant that we couldn't really trust ourselves to kick going forward, which really costed us because in certain field goal situations, we either had to instead punt it or go for it, in which we were usually not successful. So Randy Bullock's kicking issues essentially costed us the game. Now, thankfully, we still have clinched the division, but losing that really hurts us for seeding because now we are currently the 3 seed in the AFC, but our last 2 games are at home and we have not lost at home. So hopefully that can lead us to a pair of victories to wrap up this season. Along with our matchup against the Saints today, we also have a prospect profile in which we'll be going over the defensive backs in this year's draft. Starting with corner, one of our strongest positions last year, this year it's been a little bit more inconsistent, although we have seen great play from Cardell Simpson, who, by the way, has superstar X Factor. I don't think I've ever pointed this out in a video, but he has X Factor, which is kind of a big deal. Last year, we traded up in order to get him, which seemed like a surprising move because we didn't really need a corner, but he was a player I really liked, and I've been very happy with him, although the rest of the corners have been a little bit inconsistent. And then Christian Fulton's on the last year of his contract, and his price tag has steadily increased throughout the year, even though he hasn't played all that well, ironically. It's a talented cornerback class, not as good as last year, but still really good. And we've got to start at the top here with Jameer Jefferson Jr., who's not only the best cornerback here, but he might be the best prospect regardless of position in the entire draft class. At 5'11", 200 pounds, Jameer Jefferson is really the total package, and he's been arguably the best defensive player in college football over the last 2 years. He's not the biggest, but he gives you everything else you look for. Good athleticism, good size, good length, excellent in coverage, obviously. He's very consistent on a play-to-play basis. He's got great ball skills, 9 interceptions last year, 5 this season. And along with that, he's a great tackler as well. He does all the little things, too. So maybe he's not the biggest guy, but other than that, he is the total package on and off the field. High character kid, team captain. I mean, this is literally the perfect NFL prospect, not just for your team, but to add to your locker room as well. It seems like a foregone conclusion, at least for most of the year, that Clemson quarterback Cade Hutchinson would be the number 1 pick, and that makes sense. The Minnesota Vikings are probably going to pick number 1. They need a quarterback. Cade Hutchinson just won the Heisman Trophy. But Jameer Jefferson has actually passed him in draft projection. Could the Vikings, assuming they get the first pick, pass on a quarterback, which they need, and instead go with Jameer Jefferson? That'll be an interesting storyline to look out for going into the offseason. Behind Jefferson, it is a pretty talented group. Shad Swisher out of Georgia looks like the only other surefire first-round pick at corner. And obviously the thing that's going to jump off the page with him is his size. 6'5", 212 pounds. He's got obviously great length and great height. You can put him on any receiver, and he will be able to flourish. No receiver is going to be too big for him. He'll be able to handle the DK Metcalfs and the Michael Pittmans of the world. He's a smart player. Very solid in coverage. Maybe not as good as Jefferson, but still very solid. And his ball skills have really improved throughout the season with a career-high 5 interceptions. Very athletic for his size. He's just not as consistent as Jameer Jefferson, which is why Jefferson is quite a bit higher. Now we've got 2 fringe first-rounders, and we'll start with Jamison Anderson out of the University of Missouri. He's a lengthy, wiry player, 6'2", 180 pounds. So this is another guy with good size and length for the position. He's been Missouri's best defensive player over the past couple of seasons. Somebody who's got great athleticism for his size, pretty good in coverage, pretty good ball skills. Another guy who, for the most part, really checks off all the boxes at the cornerback position. So personally, I think he will go in the first round because if you look at the corners in this class, it's a deep group, but not necessarily a top-heavy group other than the first 2 guys. And I think Jamison Anderson's probably going to be the 3rd one off the board. So I do think he'll probably sneak into the late first round. But maybe teams will prefer Markeith Brown out of Clemson. Another big guy, 6'2", 205 pounds, so he's a little bit thicker, a little bit stronger than Jamison Anderson. I don't think he's quite the athlete that Jamison Anderson is. I also don't think his ball skills are quite as good, but he's a little bit better in coverage than Jamison Anderson. So it's kind of pick your poison between Anderson and Brown. Do you prefer the size and cover ability, or do you prefer more athleticism and more ball skills? Although he does have more career interceptions than Jamison Anderson, he just isn't as consistent as making plays on the ball compared to Jamison Anderson. So I think Brown's going to be an interesting player and another guy who could vie for a late first-round selection. Let's take a look now down the board. As I said just a moment ago, it is a pretty deep group at the cornerback position. A lot of guys who could be looked at on day 2. And that starts with Costello Benedetto out of Michigan. Benedetto won the Jim Thorpe Award as the best defensive back in the country, barely edging out Jameer Jefferson Jr. by just a couple of votes. Benedetto has really broken out onto the scene here. Not the biggest guy, 5'11", 180 pounds. He was mostly used in sub packages inside throughout his first few years at Michigan. This year he played on the outside and he was great. 17 pass deflections, 7 interceptions. The ball skills are top tier. I don't know how well he's going to be able to match up size-wise with some of these bigger NFL receivers, so maybe he will be better in the slot, but I do think with his physicality, he will be able to handle an outside role. Deuce Johnson from Cincinnati is a really intriguing player. 6'3", 200 pounds. This is somebody who's big, tough, and physical. Another guy who you can really line up against any receiver because of his size and his physicality. Deuce lacks quickness and elite athleticism, but again, he makes up for it with his size and physicality along the line of scrimmage, particularly in press coverage. His ball skills have been pretty solid throughout his career at the University of Cincinnati. 7 interceptions last year, only 2 this year. His ball skills were a little bit worse this season, but it's also partly because quarterbacks are throwing the ball his way a lot less. So I think this is a guy who's going to end up being a really good pro, probably as a mid to late second round pick as of now, but I could see his stock going up. Amari Sanders from Army is a really fun player. 6 interceptions in each of the last 2 years. He doesn't have elite size or athleticism, so I think that kind of hurts his upside a little bit. Although he is fast, he's not necessarily super quick or twitchy, but this is another super physical corner, despite being a little bit smaller, 5'11", 190 pounds. But it's the ball skills that are really going to excite teams. When the ball's near him, he knows how to track it. He played wide receiver in high school, and it shows. Caleb Kaufman from Oregon's another really talented player. Another bigger corner. There's a lot of those in this class. Caleb is 6'2", 183 pounds, so another guy who has a lot of height and length. Maybe doesn't have as much play strength, but this is a guy who's really quick for his size. It's very solid in coverage. Maybe not as physical as some of the other day 2 corners, but he has really improved this season. 6 interceptions. The ball skills weren't really there before this year, so it was really good to see him add that element to his game as a senior. Malachi Masuki from Tennessee is also a pretty fascinating player as well. I think he's a little bit more raw compared to some of these other really good corners at the top of this draft, but I really like his upside. 6'1", 190 pounds. He is really good in man coverage right away, although he doesn't seem to have the best feel for zone coverage yet. He's certainly looking to improve there. 4 interceptions this year. The ball skills are a work in progress, and there were certainly a lot of flashes there this year. Let's look now going down the board, trying to find some gems in this class. There are a lot of guys I like here, probably going to go on day 3, guys like Davis, Johnston, Chip Bowie. But Ryan Williams from Colorado, he's a player I really want to talk about because he had a very interesting season this year with the Buffaloes. So statistically, Ryan Williams caught 10 picks this year, and obviously that's pretty exciting for a lot of teams for good reason. The ball skills are very apparent. He had nearly won a game. Now, he is a little bit skinny, 6 foot, 170 pounds. He kind of lacks that physical toughness you look for at corner. Also, not overly physical, not overly consistent in coverage, but he has shown more flashes of that, particularly throughout the season, and he really improved this year as a senior. And again, the ball skills are top tier with him, so he's going to lose some reps, but he's going to make some big plays for you in the secondary. Brandon Whaley, the young man out of Arizona, is built similarly. 6'2", 168 pounds. He looks like a twig out there at times, but that does not stop him from being a physical corner with some of these bigger receivers in the Pac-12. He's one of the fastest players at the position as well. He uses his lack of size to really help him in terms of speed. The ball skills have been really solid throughout his career. 6 interceptions in his first 3 seasons at Arizona, added 6 more this year. He's not super consistent in coverage, however. That's partly why he has 22 pass deflections to go with his 6 interceptions. Obviously, pass deflections are a good stat. They show that you're breaking up plays. But he is a little bit inconsistent in terms of a rep-to-rep basis. Jeremiah McDuffie out of Texas is pretty fascinating. Athletically, he's pretty similar to his former Texas teammate, Wyatt Darby, who was drafted in the first round last year by the Colts. Both guys are 6'3", a little bit raw, but with noticeable upside. I think McDuffie's a little bit more raw than Wyatt Darby was, hence why he's probably going to go on day 3 rather than day 1. But the physical tools are definitely there. Very athletic for his size. He's not great at the moment. The ball skills aren't all that good, not super consistent in coverage, but he has shown a lot of flashes, particularly this past season at Texas. So I think you're taking a little bit of a gamble with Jeremiah McDuffie, but in the 5th round, why not take a shot on upside? I think he could be a really good starting corner at the next level. Jazz Cunningham Jr. from Kentucky is a really fun player. This kid's a playmaker in the secondary. Had this awesome pick 6 against Tennessee, a game that, of course, Kentucky lost, like, embarrassingly, but still, that was a really fun play. He's not the biggest guy, 5'9", 180 pounds. I think he's really going to operate well from the slot. Doesn't really have the size or physicality to match up with big receivers, but I think he's going to be a really good sub-package, nickel or dime corner in the NFL, and if whoever drafts him realizes that's his role, I think he's going to succeed early. Here are some of these super late guys, some interesting potential gems down the board as we move over to the safety position. There are some ballers at safety. Now, we've got 2 really solid starters there with Kevin Byard and Juan Thornhill. Byard's obviously a great all-pro level player, but he's not getting any younger. And then Juan Thornhill was only signed to a 1-year deal in the offseason, so we may look to get younger at safety. And there are some really good ones, particularly at 3 safety. And that starts with Athanase Gothero out of Ball State, who is currently the 8th projected player in the entire draft class. The Ball State football program has never had a first-rounder in their school's history. Well, I think that's about to change. Athanase Gothero is a special player, a 4-year starter at Ball State University, and this guy has been a superstar really ever since he stepped on campus. This year he finished in 3rd place for the Jim Thorpe Award with 8 interceptions to go with 6 last year. He's been dominant ever since his freshman season, but he's also found a way to improve in each and every season statistically. 6'2", 209 pounds, good size, NFL athleticism. When you see a lot of these small school guys with high production, normally they're not great athletes, but that is not the truth with Gothero, who is honestly a freak to go along with his insane production. I think he's going to be a top 10 pick, which is very rare for safeties, but I think this kid is that good. He's not the only safety projected to go in the 1st round. I.T. Thomas out of Texas is really good as well. Now, I think Thomas is a little bit less polished compared to Athanase Gothero. The ball skills aren't really as good right now, but the athletic profile certainly is. Thomas stands at 6 foot, 200 pounds. This is a big, tough, physical player. Again, checks all the boxes. This is somebody who can make plays in run support. Very good as a center fielder in zone coverage. Ball skills are improving. You can have him in the nickel, in man coverage, and along with NFL athleticism, there's really nothing to dislike about I.T. Thomas. And maybe he's not as good of a player as Athanase Gothero, but he is really close behind. Johnny Lee Farr out of Florida is also a really, really good player. So Farr made maybe the play of the year with a pick 6 late in Week 14 against Florida State to win Florida the game and, in essence, punch their ticket into the college football playoff, which, of course, they are the number 7 seed playing against Nebraska in tomorrow's college football playoff episode in the NCAA Next Up series. Shameless plug. But Johnny Lee Farr is a really, really good player, regardless of that pick 6. Another guy who you can really trust as your center fielder out there in zone coverage with 5 interceptions this year. He needs to be a little bit more consistent in run support. He really hasn't mastered that area of this game yet, but in coverage he's really solid. Solid athleticism, solid size as well. As we look down the board, Dominic Alexander from Wake Forest is really solid. Keontae Sparks Jr. from LSU is an interesting player. He's really raw, but he is someone who has a very high ceiling. 6'3", 225 pounds. The athletic profile of him is very impressive. I wouldn't be surprised if a team drafts him and maybe gets him to put on 10 to 20 pounds of weight, maybe try to move him over to linebacker. I think he could really play that role really well. So he's kind of a clean slate with a lot of upside, but there's also a lot of ways to go with him. As we look at day 3, I think Baye Diarra out of Stanford could really be an interesting gem as a late-round flyer. So Diarra was really good last year as a junior. He was an NCAA All-American, could have declared for the draft and been probably a second or third round pick, but he decides to stay in school, finish up his degree. Good for him. But what's not good for him is that he has not played as well as he did last year, and thus his stock has gone down. He's now being looked at probably as a 5th or 6th rounder, so with drafting Diarra, do you really focus on what happened this year or more so his past resume and thus hope that he, plays better? As we move over to strong safety, not as talented of a group, but there are some good players, including Jack Jones out of Penn State, who's currently being looked at as a fringe second-round pick. I think he's probably the 4th best overall safety in the draft behind the top 3 free safeties with Gothero, Thomas, and Johnny Lee Farr. But I think Jack Jones is really good as well. Now, he does need to put on some weight, only 176 pounds. For somebody at the strong safety position who you hope is going to be downhill, physical, making plays in the run, you want him to get a little bit stronger and maybe add 20 to 30 pounds of strength. And then going down the board a little bit, I think Jeremy Hart from TCU is an intriguing player to wrap up our prospect profile with. 6'2", 192 pounds. Another player who's kind of raw, but does have a really intriguing athletic profile. I don't think he has as high of a ceiling in comparison to Keontae Sparks Jr., who we talked about just a moment ago, but I think he's a little bit more pro-ready as well. 6'2", 192 pounds. He's been really solid this year for the TCU defense. He does need to improve in terms of consistency on a play-to-play basis. It's not always perfect with him, but there are some flashes of him being a really, really good player at the next level. So there you go. Those are the defensive backs in this year's draft class. We have now gone through all of the positions in this year's draft class. So this is what it looks like here at the top of the class. Now, keep in mind, we still need to see which underclassmen will eventually declare for the draft in the offseason. But this is what it looks like in terms of all of the seniors in this year's draft class. Really talented, fun group. I've enjoyed breaking down all of their games throughout the year. And I'm excited to really focus on them again once we get into the offseason with the pre-draft process. Let's now focus on our matchup here against the New Orleans Saints, who are a really solid team. They're 9-6. They're fighting for a playoff spot in the NFC, so obviously they have a lot to play for. Defensively, what do we want to focus on? Turnovers, the run game, or pressure? And I think it all really starts up front, sending pressure in the backfield. Obviously, we've got a pretty good pass rush. Harold Landry, of course, has been phenomenal, playing like a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. As we look at the Saints, they really started off well, but kind of have fallen off a little bit. But they have won 2 in a row, albeit against the Texans and the Vikings, who are both pretty terrible. But hey, they're still wins nonetheless. They're playing a little bit better. They've got some more momentum. The Saints are led by famous Jameis Winston at the quarterback position. He hasn't been good this year, but he hasn't been bad either. He's been, serviceable. Nothing more, nothing less. They've got some talented playmakers on offense with Alvin Kamara out of the backfield. And then at wide receiver, the Ohio State duo of Michael Thomas and Chris Olave, along with the 6'7" rookie Jaden Menendez out of Georgia. On defense, we've got some playmakers in the secondary. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. Marshawn Lattimore, Marcus May, amongst others. And then up front, led by the 34-year-old veteran Cameron Jordan. So it should be a fun matchup. Both of these teams are pretty solid. The Titans, of course, have already clinched their division. They are currently focusing on seeding in the AFC. And then, as we said, for the Saints at 9-6, they're trying to punch their ticket into the playoffs. And with a win today, they will do that. So we'll see if New Orleans can clinch here in Tennessee as the Saints start off with the ball. 2nd and 2 for famous Jameis and the boys as he hands it off to Alvin Kamara, who played his college ball in Tennessee with the University of Tennessee as he gets 16 yards. Now a 2nd and 1, play action fake. Winston under pressure, goes downfield, and it is caught. What a throw and catch by Jameis Winston into the hands of Chris Olave. Phenomenal coverage by Cardell Simpson, the rookie. Really could not have done much more. Just a great play by Winston and Olave. 3rd and goal now at the 7. Winston looks to throw it, scrambling to the right, under pressure, throws away. Fletcher Cox was the one with the hit in the backfield, and that'll force the field goal team to come out. Solid drive for the Saints, but they were unable to find the end zone, so Big Nuts Will Lutz will be forced to tackle on 3 points, as it is 3-0. Here's the Titans offense featuring the undrafted rookie quarterback Garrett Pace, making his 3rd career start, of course replacing the injured Malik Willis, as on 2nd and 7. Pace tries to get away from pressure, but instead is sacked by Peyton Turner and friends. Looked like he wanted to throw that ball away, but he didn't have enough time to get rid of it. So now it's a 3rd and 20 for Tennessee. They certainly are not hoping to start this drive off with a 3-and-out, as Pace has Woods open downfield, but he misfires. So an inaccurate pass there by the Rook. That'll force a punt, and New Orleans has the football. 2nd and 10 from the 49. Winston looks to throw it, goes short, caught by Adam Troutman, the tight end, breaking tackles. Eventually wrapped up at the 38-yard line by Juan Thornhill. Now at the 14, it's a 3rd and inches. Play action fake. Jameis Winston looks to throw it, and he's picked off. Kevin Byard with the interception. A huge takeaway in the red zone by the Titans defense. Byard with his 4th interception of the year. A great play for the Titans. Of course, Jameis Winston knows a thing or two about throwing interceptions. Now Tennessee has the ball back. First play of the drive. Pace goes downfield to the rookie, Scotty Pickens. Pickens with room to run. He gets to the 33-yard line, wrapped up by Marcus May. A huge gain there for Scotty Pickens, getting 53 yards. And for a second, I thought he was going to take that all the way to the house. Following play, Pace feeling comfortable and confident after his big throw as he gets it to the tight end, Foster Moreau, for a gain of 20. 1st and 10 now at the 13-yard line. Clock ticking here in the first quarter. Handoff for King Derrick Henry, who tries to stiff-arm the Honey Badger and is tackled in the end zone for a touchdown. Derrick Henry with the score, and the Tennessee Titans will take the lead as it is a 7-3 ball game. Yes, Randy Bullock did make the extra point, so it appears that last week's kicking issue might have been an anomaly, might have been because of the rain. Hopefully that's the case and it doesn't come back up. The Saints have it back. Here's Alvin Kamara breaking tackles to the 34-yard line. Big play there by Kamara, and thus the Saints would march down the field now in the second quarter as Chris Olave will score the easy touchdown. Quick and simple throw from Jameis Winston, and it is now 10-7. The Titans get it back after a long drive from New Orleans. 3rd and 2. Derrick Henry up the middle. The Saints have nobody playing back deep, and the King will take his throne to the end zone for a 60-yard touchdown. Derrick Henry with his 2nd score of the game, giving everybody gravy for lunch. You get gravy. You get some food. Everybody's here to eat in the King's kitchen. 14-10. I don't know what the Saints defense was doing on that play, not having anybody back deep and just running a full-on blitz. So the Saints have it back. 3rd and 11. Kamara makes the play. Caleb Farley wanted to play for the ball, and, well, that backfired as he let Kamara get the first down. 3rd and 5. Michael Thomas wide open, laid out by Bud Dupree at the 22-yard line, and that'll bring us to the 2-minute warning. 14-10 your score in favor of New Orleans. 2nd and 10. Winston under pressure. Fumble. Fletcher Cox forces it away, and it's picked up by Bud Dupree. Famous Jameis has now turned it over twice here in the first half, and the Titans have a real shot to make it a 2-score game. That first down conversion on 3rd and 7 will certainly help out as Scotty Pickens makes the play. First down now at the 45. Pace goes downfield. Pass caught by Derrick Henry. Breaking tackles to the 25. Garrett Pace has only completed 4 passes today, but they've all been really good throws. I think that's partly because the Saints have completely dominated time of possession, but the Titans right now are dominating the scoreboard. 2nd and 4. Pace breaks away from the defensive lineman. What a run by Garrett Pace. Hasn't really shown off his great mobility that he showcased throughout his college career at Georgia Tech. 2nd and 10. Risky throw into the end zone. It's caught for a touchdown by the rookie Scotty Pickens. Great catch in contact. I did not know Scotty Pickens had the ability to make contested plays like this, but he has done it on multiple occasions now throughout his NFL career as the rookie Scotty Pickens continues to just be an absolute superstar on this offense, making it 21-10. The Saints looking to score late in the first half, and I think that idea will quickly be scrumpled up and thrown in the toilet. Alvin Kamara loses 4 on the screen, wrapped up by the big linebacker, Zach Cunningham. And thus, that'll wrap up the first half. Pretty good start here for the Titans. They lead 21-10. The defense is making plays with 2 turnovers, and the offense, despite the fact that the Saints are dominating time of possession, 39 plays compared to our 17, we're having big plays on offense, and the explosiveness is really helping us out. Let's take a look at our halftime report, starting in Baltimore. The Ravens were able to squeeze away from the Jaguars with this unbelievable run late in the game by Lamar Jackson, a 50-yard score in which he was like 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage at one point, but still managed to score the touchdown. The Ravens win it 28-21. Big win for Baltimore, keeping them alive in the playoff race. The Titans very well could see Baltimore in the first round of the postseason. And again, these teams just played each other a couple weeks ago, which the Titans won that game. Next up, we go to the Pacific Northwest. The Seahawks are out of the race, but the Lions are still fighting for a playoff spot, of course led by the number 1 draft pick, Clyde Williamson at quarterback. But it was the other rookie in the backfield, Charles Wiggins, the second rounder out of Michigan, who's really making the big plays so far. Wiggins has scored twice here in the first half, as the Lions lead 14-3 against Seattle. Detroit only won 1 game last year, so it's really cool to see them playing some good ball with their new quarterback, Clyde Williamson. And finally, an interdivision matchup between a couple of our rivals, the Colts and the Texans. It was Houston who was able to get the win here, 37-23. Davis Mills played really well. Brandon Cooks there with an awesome catch. Both teams are now 6-10. Actually, everybody in the is 6-10 in the division, minus the Titans. Tennessee will play against Houston next week. It'll be interesting to see if Houston has any more gas left in the tank in what has been another pretty unfortunate season for them. So as we go into the second half, we're winning. We really should be focusing on running the ball, but I want to see more reps from Garrett Pace. I'm really liking what I've seen from him today. Not a ton of throws, but the throws he is making are really good. Then defensively, the Saints are losing, so we're going to focus on stopping the pass. The Titans open up with the ball here in the third quarter. Is on second down. Here's Scotty Pickens again. Scotty continues to be the number 1 target here for Garrett Pace, and Scotty Pickens' role in the offense really has not changed with the quarterback change. 3rd and 12, Pace under pressure, somehow gets it to Foster Moreau, who gets the first down at the 16-yard line, and now at the 5, 2nd and goal after a solid 4-minute drive. The rookie out of Minnesota, Rocket Reddick, will finish the drive with a touchdown, and the Titans extend their lead as it is now 28-10. The Saints are down by 3 scores. They've really got some damage control to do here in the third quarter, as it is a 3rd and 8. Jameis Winston looks to throw it. Going to roll out to the right, hoping to make a play. Goes short for Kamara, and he will not get the first down. He stepped out of bounds as he was trying to break away from Thornhill. So that'll force a punt. The Titans get it back. Really trying to turn this game into a blowout here. 3rd and 7. Pace under some pressure. Misfires for McCole Hardman. The pass nearly picked off by Marshawn Lattimore. That'll force a punt. The Saints get it back. About 3 minutes left in the third. Is on 2nd and 10. There's a nice throw up the middle from Michael Thomas, evading defenders. He is brought down at the 42-yard line. I think Jameis has been pretty good today, minus the 2 turnovers. It's just that the Saints really are not getting consistent drives down the field. Really good throw on 2nd and 11. Back to Michael Thomas, who gets another first down. And the Saints are nearing the goal line, back in the red zone. It's another nice throw from Winston as the Saints get it to the 2-yard line. That's for rookie Jaden Menendez out of Georgia coming down with the play. That'll wrap up the third quarter. The Titans lead comfortably 28-10, but the Saints are marching on the doorstep of the end zone. They should be able to punch it in here shortly as it's 1st and goal. First play of the quarter. Winston looks to throw it, and it is caught for a touchdown. Jalen Moore, the unlikely scorer. That'll make it 28-17 as the Saints would surprisingly just kick the extra point. I would have thought they would have gone for 2. 3rd and 5, the Titans try to catch the Saints off guard with a run, and it does not catch the Saints by surprise at all. Reddick loses 2, wrapped up by Derek Nottie. That'll force a punt, and New Orleans has it back. Trying to make a comeback here. They're not out of it. First down, it's a screen for Kamara, and he loses 6. David Long and Fletcher Cox are there to make the play. Fletcher Cox has been a game wrecker today, constantly in the backfield. He has been fantastic. 2nd and 16. Speak of the devil. It's Fletcher Cox with his 2nd sack of the game. I know Cox has been a little bit disappointing this year. He's had a hard time staying healthy. But, wow, he looks like prime Fletcher Cox right now. 3rd and 23. Cox nearly sacks him again as Winston misfires for Kamara. That'll make it a 4th and 23. I thought the Saints would have punted it, but they will instead elect to go for it. Gutsy call, and Winston throws it away on 4th down. I don't really know why Jameis Winston made that decision, but okay. First and goal now, 6 minutes to go. Pace under pressure, looks to go short for Derrick Henry, who waltzes into the end zone for a touchdown. And the Tennessee Titans extend their lead as King Henry gets a hat trick, his third touchdown of the game. If you started him in your fantasy playoffs, congratulations on your championship. 35-17, the Saints running an obvious screen. Zach Cunningham reads the play like a book, but there's one problem. Late hit in the backfield. You can't do that, especially on third down. I know Fletcher Cox has been great today, again disrupting the backfield with Christian Barmore. Barmore was actually the one called for the penalty, although Cox was there too. The Saints would march all the way down the field, and they would score a touchdown shortly after with Adam Troutman. Now it's time for an onside kick, as it is recovered by Alec Bostic. So the Titans are in line to win this game, although New Orleans does have all 3 timeouts, so they'll be looking to burn those. 3rd and 6 from the 39. It's a play-action fake. The Titans looking to catch the Saints off guard, but Moreau drops the ball. Garrett Pace with a perfect throw, but Moreau's not able to make the play. 4th down, the Titans could go for a field goal, but they want to end the game now and go for it. Pace looks up the middle, misfires, throws it into the middle of nowhere, and so New Orleans will get the ball back. 3rd and 3, they're now out of timeouts. They had to use one earlier on the drive with an injured player, so that really hurts their flexibility in terms of managing the clock. Winston connects with Adam Troutman, who gets a nice play to the 37-yard line. Now 3rd and 10 with exactly a minute to go left in the game. Winston under pressure from, again, Fletcher Cox, but the pass is incomplete. On 4th down, New Orleans is going to kick the field goal. I think their goal here is field goal, onside kick, touchdown, and 2-point conversion. But they didn't even complete step 1 of the operation, missing the kick, and the Titans win it 35-24 as Tennessee improves to 11-5 on the year with one more game left to go. A good win here for the Titans. I thought the offense really played well. A lot of explosive plays, which have been missing, particularly since Malik Willis's injury, so it was really good to see that. And then defensively, I thought we were really solid. Both QBs were pretty good. Not bad, not great, but I thought both quarterbacks were pretty solid. Both teams ran the ball well. Kamara and Henry were good. Henry also had a receiving touchdown. Scotty Piggins is really good at football, as is Fletcher Cox. What a performance from him, especially with Harold Landry not playing his best. Ryan Ramczyk had Landry in hell today, but Fletcher Cox was great. 3 TFLs, 2 sacks, and then we forced 2 turnovers. And shout out to Randy Bullock for making all of his kicks today. We needed to send pressure, and although it was only really one guy sending pressure, that one guy completely dominated. Fletcher Cox with his best game as a Titan. I've been very unsure about bringing him back next year, and this game certainly helps his case, assuming he doesn't retire. So looking at the games around the league, we need the Rams to lose for our draft pick. They did not lose. We want the Chiefs to lose. They did not. And we need the Steelers to lose. And they embarrassingly lost to the Cardinals, which is ironic. Arizona has the 2nd worst record in the league behind Minnesota. The Vikings also won, which is funny. Players of the week, Matthew Stafford, Devondre Campbell, Joe Burrow, and Sauce Gardner. So that'll bring us to Week 18 here against the Houston Texans. We are now the 2 seed as we jump the Steelers with them losing to Arizona, funny enough. Looking at the playoff picture in both conferences, starting with us, we can go as high as 1 or as low as 4. So we're not going to be resting our starters this week. We're going to be playing them against Houston. Although if it's a blowout like the last time we played Houston, then, well, maybe we will. We're going to be watching out for teams like the Chargers, the Ravens, the Bills, New England, amongst others as possible first-round opponents. And then here's a look at the NFC as well. Hopefully the Rams lose and they don't get in so we can have a higher draft pick, because that would be greatly appreciated. So that'll wrap up the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Peace out. Tighten up.